Today we're discussing this, the new Sony 85mm f1.4 G Master Mark II, the obvious successor to the G Master Mark I of the 85mm. And in some ways, this lens is noticeably improved, but in others, it's not that different. So it'll be interesting to see what you think at the end of this video, of whether or not those upgrades were warranted to make a Mark II. The other lens is quite old though, so we'll get into that. Anyway, before that, some disclosure. You should know that Sony lent me this lens to make this review. I'm not getting paid to make this video, and this lens will go back to Sony when I'm done with it. But I do want to give a shout out to Camera Canada for lending me the Mark I of this lens so that I could make this comparison. They always come in a pinch. I love that store. I love the fact that they're Canadian. They're local to me, so I try to support them whenever I can. This video does have an official sponsor, and that's Storyblocks. Okay, let's jump right into the feature differences between the lenses. The new one now has an iris lock. Both lenses have an iris ring that can be clicked or declicked, but this one has the iris lock, which means that if you set it to A because you want to control it with the camera, you can lock it and then it won't come off that A setting, which is nice. And then this new lens has two function buttons instead of just the one on the original G Master. So height-wise, as you can see, they're both the same, but the G Master one looks significantly chunkier. It's actually only 5mm thicker, and you can see that when you kind of put them side by side. It's not that big of a difference, but something about the shape and the way it feels in the hand, this one just feels more bulbous, the original version. And there's a significant weight difference too. The Mark I weighs 820 grams, where the new Mark II is only 642 grams. So it's a significant reduction in weight, and you can definitely feel it in the hand. It's better balanced all the way across. Now, focusing is another difference. They're both linear, and performance-wise, I suppose they're about the same when we're talking about manual focus. They both have the same minimum focus distance, and I'll show you some images about that in a minute. But on the Mark II, the focus ring definitely feels looser and faster and a bit floatier, where the Mark I definitely feels that there's a lot more resistance there. Definitely a much heavier manual focus pull. I don't know. I think maybe I like the Mark II a little bit better, but I think this one's a bit loose and this one's a bit too heavy. I wish it was somewhere in the middle. However, when it comes to autofocus, there are significant differences. This lens, the Mark I, is almost over 8 years old now, and it was using a ring drive SSM motor. I don't want to say that it's noisy, but there are times where you're autofocusing, especially if you've been using modern Sony lenses lately, where you do hear it. It'll be like, and you're like, oh, that's weird. I'm not used to hearing it. So this one does make noise. This new lens is using XD linear motors. They're new, like maglev system ones. Sony claims that it's like 3 times faster in some cases and 7 times faster in other. I think what it's really all about is that if you want to use their new bodies like the A9 III and you want to get 120 frames a second, you want to do this and that, this lens is now rated for the capabilities of that camera, where the old lens is not. But when I was using it on, 5-6 frames a second photo, or even 24p video, I mean, it wasn't a huge difference. And then lastly, before moving on, I do want to share some notes about focus breathing, because I think I was told this one has improved focus breathing. I didn't really notice a difference. I mean, maybe it's slightly better, like a few percent better. I'm probably showing you a clip on the screen now, but if you compare the focus breathing on the Mark I to the Mark II, about the same amount of the frame. And for people that don't know, focus breathing is when, as you focus, it almost looks like the frame is zooming a little bit, like it goes, you lose it and increase a little bit of field of view. But let's jump into Lightroom and I'll show you some sample images. Okay, let's continue our conversation about focusing, and we'll jump back to the minimum focus distance, which on these lenses, both of them, is 0.85 meters or 2.79 feet. So that hasn't changed either. And as you can see, there's labels. So on the left, we have the GM2, and on the right, we have the GM1. And if we zoom in here, this is what I found interesting. When minimum focusing, there's a significant sharpness difference between these two lenses across the entire frame. And this isn't a mistake where it's like, oh, I did this test on the right like 8 times to make sure that I wasn't like too close and I kept pulled it back. And to even prove it, look what happens if I give you an example of one where there's no chance that I'm focusing too close. It's still soft compared to this one. This is the minimum, and look how sharp it is. This is pulled back a bit and it looks like that. So that's impressive. But it does mean that if you want to close focus a lot, which you can't get that close. Like this image here, this is as close as you can get on a Rubik's Cube. The new one is better though, if you like close focusing, focusing. And then regarding the autofocus component, as you can see here, we did some shots where I just sprinted at the camera. We focused the entire time. I think we shot at 10 frames per second on the Alpha 1 just to see what the hit rate was, basically. And I have those numbers for you here. So on the G Master 2, we got about 92%. Of just doing this over and over again, like sprinting at the camera, changing angles a little bit. 92% of the shots were acceptably in focus, where on the G Master 1, about 77%. Neither is bad, but there is a difference. And I think as you increase the frame rate, obviously, that disparity is going to increase. And if you just want to see a quick comparison between a given shot from the one lens and the other, I chose like ones that were similar. You can see that the GM2 actually does look a little bit better. There's contrast a little bit better. The blacks seem a little bit less muddy, and there is still a sharpness difference. Look at my face there. All the settings were the same on the camera. This one's definitely got a bit sharper detail. This one's a little bit softer. And then I also did a similar test for video in a studio with mixed lighting, where I was walking rapidly at the camera with continuous autofocus on, with face tracking to see if there was a difference. And again, to be honest, they're pretty close. If you slow it down to like half speed, you can see that there's more frames on the new lens that are in focus. But if you watch it at regular speed, it just kind of looks like they both get there at about the same point. And I wouldn't necessarily buy the new lens to improve that type of video shot, if you know what I mean. Other than the fact that the old one did make a little bit of noise while doing it, but not much, to be honest. Now, moving away from focusing, but sticking with the things that are similar before getting more into the differences, I found the flare to be quite similar on both lenses. You can see here that with a similar amount of light cutting across the frame, the contrast isn't affected that badly. There's not that much in the way of artifacts in either shot. I do find that the GM1 does tend to have there's always a little bit of something here that's like missing on the GM2. And another example would be this one. Again, very similar. Look at the blues, look at the clouds, look at the blacks, all very similar. But the GM original does have a little extra blotch there that's not as obvious on the GM2. So other than that, the flare is very, very similar. And if you're curious about Sunstars, well, there you go. I took a photo of some Sunstars for you. But the Sunstars on this lens are not great. But why would they be? It's an 85mm 1.4 with very smooth bokeh. On top of that, it was incredibly humid and hazy the day I shot this. I would have been better off just downloading some Sunstars from Storyblocks, the sponsor of today's video, a stock media platform that offers unlimited downloads of diverse and high quality content for one predictable subscription cost. Because why stand in the uncomfortable heat pointing your new G Master lens at the sun like a bozo when you could instead peruse a library of over 1 million HD and 4K video files, images, and motion graphics templates? And jokes aside, those motion graphics have actually saved me time on previous projects, especially now that they added DaVinci Resolve templates, much better than my previous and tedious method of making those graphics in Photoshop and then animating them in the Edit tab using keyframes. Plus, anything you download from Storyblocks is 100% royalty-free with clear-cut licensing, so you can focus on creating, not worrying about usage rights. The platform is incredibly easy to use, and the library is frequently restocked with commissioned content based on customer demand to ensure you'll have access to files that are not only high quality, but fresh and diverse. So to get started with unlimited stock media downloads at one set price, head to storyblocks.com/undone or click the link in the description. And speaking of that smooth bokeh, as you can see here, they are both excellent, as they should be, because the original 85 was excellent, so it'd be weird if they made it worse. But yeah, there's not a lot to complain about here. Both look excellent, very smooth, nice edges, fantastic. The only thing you could really say is that there is some cat's eye going on in the corners, as you can see here. Both have it very similarly, and it's very common in this type of lens. Where you will notice a difference, though, is in the chromatic aberration. Here, we're going to look at LOCA, longitudinal chromatic aberration, which is when things go out of focus to the foreground or the background, color fringing is introduced, usually opposite colors in each direction. You can see that sharpness difference again, but also the G Master Mark II is exhibiting more of a green and magenta combination, where the old one was this sort of red and blue. But the red and blue was a bit more obvious, a bit more aggressive on the old lens. So as we pull further away, you can see less of the green up here and more of the blue remains. And same if we go the other direction. I feel like the red is a bit more obvious than the purple coloring down here. This can be seen again if we are shooting sort of in a real world environment, where once again, the G Master II is sharper and that green fringing isn't nearly as obnoxious as the blue fringing. One more example here showing fringing in combination with sharpness. G Master II on the left, sharper, and again, less obvious fringing along the outsides of this if you were shooting with, a bright backdrop or a sky as a backdrop. Fine details against that bright background will exhibit more fringing on the old one, and it is improved on the new one, which is nice to see. And for a last little note on that sharpness there, if we shoot something at more medium distance, so it's not the absolute minimum focus, but we do compare sharpness from center out to the edge, we look here, you can see a pretty alarming improvement on the G Master II against the G Master 1, which again surprised me because the G Master 1 against other lenses looks really sharp. So that shows you how sharp the new G Master 2 is. This is in the center, but as we move out toward the edge, the difference between the G Master 2 and the G Master 1 actually just grows to where it's significantly sharper. While we're here, we can kind of talk a little bit about vignetting. We'll go more into that in the next shot. but they're about the same, and there's no profiles enabled for either of these images. And same with this shot, which again, the vignetting looks almost identical, and the distortion, which is why I shot this, looks about identical too. Again, distortion was not an issue with the original one, and it's not an issue on the G Master 2 either. The only real difference here is that the one on the left is sharper, which is the G Master 2. So the last thing I want to do, since like I said, I usually consider this lens more of a portrait lens of that, well, what if you're actually taking portraits? Is the sharpness difference going to make a difference, like to the eyes or anything like that? So I have this shot, it's almost identical of me, same tripod, same angle. I tried not to move, took the shot twice. I do notice an improvement that the colors are richer on the G Master 2 than they are on the G Master 1, in my opinion. It's very subtle. Like, depending on what device you're watching this video on, you might look at these and be like, look, they're the same. At this distance, to me, they look about the same. I just know that the one on the left has slightly richer colors. But if we punch in and we get real close, look at my pores, look at my eyebrow. The G Master 2 is sharper. The eyes are sharper. The pupils are sharper. They just are. But this is often sort of a recurring theme when a new G Master Mark II comes out. You look at it, you compare, you say, it's not that much better than G Master Mark I, and that's still the case here. But usually the price kind of helps figure that equation out. And in this case, I don't know the final price, but I'll let you know that right now, regular retail price for the Mark I is around 1,800 US. And I was told that the price of the new one is going to be either 1,800 US up to 2,000 US. They always give you a range when you get a Sony briefing. And often it does fall to the lower end of the range. I don't know the final price, but it's going to be somewhere between 1,800 and 2,000. If it's 1,800, well then, who cares? It's the same price. This one's better. Case closed. If you need to buy a new one, right? If it's $200 more, well, that's going to be up to you. It's probably worth $100 or $200 more, but not much more than that in terms of the difference. But I seldom get to this point in the video and then say, you got to sell your G Master 1 and buy a G Master 2 because the difference is never really worth it. So it's more of like, if you're a new customer and you were like, you know what? I'm going to buy myself a premium 85mm lens for portraiture. And we didn't discuss comparisons with, Sony's classic 85-1.8 or some of the options from Sigma or whatever, because they're cheaper. And there's going to be some compromises, but they can be a good value equation. But hopefully with this comparison, if you find an older video comparing the 85 G Master 1 to those other lenses, then you can make a determination on this one versus those two because they're pretty similar. So if you're a brand new customer and you've got the money to buy a G Master price lens and you're trying to compare between these two, buy the G Master 2. It's that easy. If you already have a G Master 1, are you going to want to upgrade here? I mean, only if you're shooting with the A9 III and you want to shoot 120 frames a second, then yeah, maybe it's worth selling and buying. For most people, probably not. This is still an excellent lens. It's crazy though that there's like an 8.5 year difference between these two. I find that to be the most interesting component of this. Anyway, I got nothing else to say. Buy it or don't. I don't care. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, like it or I don't know, press some buttons. What are we talking about anymore? Cameras? All right. I'm done.